My name is Stephen Rosley, and I'm going to be talking today about crystal skulls. I have two of them here. This is Shar, who's about 18 pounds, and then we've got Star Sirius, which is 67 pounds. I wasn't really into skulls until a friend of mine named Gene came into my store almost been 8 or 9 years ago, and he wanted me to search out crystal skulls for him. I found a smoky quartz skull, a citrine, and a quartz crystal skull. And I started to play with the quartz crystal skull, and I became attached to it. It wanted to be called Shar. This is Shar right here. And when it came time for Gene to pay for the skulls, I told him I could sell him the two skulls, but I couldn't sell him Shar, because Shar and I had connected. What happened was Gene said, if you ever want to sell him, call me, I would like him. I said, fine. Well, 2 years later, my store ran into some tough times and I couldn't pay rent. I was behind in my bills, and guess who walks in the front door? Gene. And Gene made me an offer I could not refuse to sell Shar. And so I sold him to Gene, which actually helped the store maintain and to grow. And that was the last time I saw him. Gene moved to Indiana, and in 2006, I get a call from a guy in Oregon saying that his brother died and left a large collection of skulls and other material. Would I be interested in looking at it? And I said to him, it wasn't Gene, was it? And he said, yes. Immediately I thought of this one, Shar. And so I went down to Indianapolis to see his collection with a friend of mine. He had over 100 skulls and all sorts of material, but all I could see was Shar. I wanted to have Shar back, so I bought Shar and some other skulls. This one, which I called Big Daddy at the time, I saw it, I didn't touch it, but a friend of mine, as we're driving back to Chicago, mentioned that this skull has wonderful energy. They wanted too much money for it, so I didn't think about it. On the way back to Chicago, I realized something, that we're all given a Universal Library card to check out things from the Universal Library. And when it's our turn to check out, everything goes back to the Universal Library for someone else to check it out. This is what happened to Shar. I had it, I was the caretaker, then Gene became the caretaker, and then he checked out and I got Shar back. When I got to Chicago, I counted the number of skulls that I had purchased, and there were 13. Now the legend of the ancient crystal skulls is that there were 13 ancient crystal skulls made by beings not from this planet, and that when all 13 were aligned, it opened a portal to other realities. The 13 were here to help give us information that we need to continue our existence. Now all modern crystal skulls are portals to the ancient ones. They're all connected. Got back to Chicago, and this was like in May, and then I started to realize that this skull, Big Daddy at the time, was calling me. A good friend of mine had decided to write a book about crystal skull consciousness with my soulmate Cheryl Node, who's a trance channel, and she channeled information about the skulls, and also she's a professional photographer, and she took pictures of one of the skulls that was on the cover of the book. It was about a 12-pound carnelian skull coming out of crop circles that she had taken a picture of in the early 90s. Well, what happened is this big skull started to call me, and I had to have it. On July 23rd, 2006, I became the caretaker of one of the largest crystal skulls ever made, 67 pounds of quartz. When I brought it back to Chicago, I meditated with the skull and asked it what did it want it to be called. And it screamed at me, Star Sirius. I said, Star Sirius. And that's what its name is. I didn't realize that on July 23rd, 2006 was the day that Sirius opens, which means it's closest to the Earth for 55 days. Now, Sirius is part of the constellation Orion, and it represents the dog. Now, you've heard of the dog days of summer. Those are the days that Sirius is closest to the Earth for 55 days, and therefore it goes in July, August, and part of September. When I brought star Sirius back to Chicago, I realized that it accumulated some negativity over the 40 million years that this quartz crystal has been on this Earth. I don't know when it was carved, and I really don't care. It's not important. What's important is the knowledge it has accumulated while it's been on this planet for those 40 million years. I made a selenite grid, 4 pieces of selenite around the skull, to cleanse it and to reprogram the hard drive in it, so that when people come in to the store or come in for healing sessions or work with it, what they do is they take both hands, put one hand here and the other hand here, and you close your eyes, you center yourself, you take a nice deep cleansing breath, and then you breathe naturally, and then you let and feel it. What happens is that when you put both hands on it, you're making a circuit. You're giving it information at the same time you're receiving information. Of course, people who meditate have a tendency to get more out of it than people who don't. Someone who doesn't meditate, when they put both hands on it, they may feel a throbbing, a heartbeat, and things like that. Other people who do meditate have had experiences of going into outer space, have gone inside the skull to see a pyramid of all the colors of the rainbow or the chakras. There have been people who have gone into the center of the earth and experienced that energy. There have been people who have gone into the ocean and have found a sunken city. What this does, it connects you with your spiritual side and gives you information. That's what the crystal skulls do, is they are record keepers. They give information. Now this one, Shar, is about 18 pounds. As you can see, there are lots of rainbows. And this one, when I suggest you use the skull, is that hold it on your navel, like so. Any skull, hold it on your navel or over your navel, because your navel is where you got your nutrition and you got everything when you were still in the womb. Because it's not connected does not necessarily mean that you're not going to get the information that you need to get. You can come and see the skulls and play with them at my store in Chicago. It's the Crystal Gallery at Rosley's Rocks and Gems, 2257 West Eastwood Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60625. Or you can call 1-800-844-1498. And we also have an email rock club. And I do a newsletter to over 3,000 members worldwide twice a month of all the new stones and crystal that I have found. I want to thank you for listening to this and seeing my friends. And come to the store if you get a chance to play with them.